Dave, I love your journey because yours is a career that almost never was. If you think back to where you were 10 years ago, do you sometimes have to pinch yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty mad really. 10 years ago, I think I lost to Judd in the World and I thought that's it, no more. Got talked into Q School, thankfully. Steve Judd, thanks for pushing me for it, mate. And yeah, from there it's just got a little bit better every year.
It would have been so easy for you to walk away from snooker, and you're really popular amongst your fellow pros and everybody knows how talented you are and how talented you were. Was it his advice that just about kept you hanging on for another crack?
I think it was just the fact that Barry Earn took over the game, and obviously for most of the years I was playing, there's only 5, 6, 7 events, so I wasn't dedicated at all. You know, I didn't really play much. It was like a hobby or a second income because I was working mainly. So I think when Barry Earn took over, obviously there was like 10, 12, 15 tournaments all of a sudden. But when I managed to drop off the tour that year, Barry just took over. I didn't even realise like the PTC events and that. I didn't even realise there were ranking points or anything. So I think I went from like 40 in the world to off the tour. So it was quite bizarre, really. I think I only really played for the UK and the Worlds that year because there were the money events. Yeah, so to turn that round is quite mad, really.
It truly is. And I know when you had your big run at the Worlds a couple of years ago, hopefully not your last, people talked a lot about your mate Neil, who took you in. And I don't think it was an exaggeration that the story that came out at the time was that at that point when you ended up living with him, you literally were kipping on his sofa with a bag of clothes and a TV. So you really have come from a difficult point to be at a great place now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I did actually say that, didn't I? And it was a 100% true story. You know, we had nothing when I moved in with my mate. I think I just got kicked out by an ex-bird, to be honest with you. So I just packed my gear and off I went, and he said, come and live with me. You know, he was having a bad time himself too, so it generally was like men behaving badly. You know, we both cheered each other up, and we had a good crack.
And then you've got the steadying influence from Abby, and you've done a few brilliant press conferences because you do like to shoot from the hip, and you're always mentioning being out with the lads with a little bit of a twinkle in your eye. But Abby somehow managed to sort of get involved, and she just got that wild man enough under control to get on the table and do some magic.
Yeah, she's a bit of big influence, really. As like I say, I went through the Q School thing, did a couple more years, weren't really doing anything, and it was Abby that told me you got to start backing yourself. You know, we didn't have much money at all. Her dad offered to sub me a few quid for the season kind of thing, but I think I had about $5,000 to our name, so I said, oh no, we'll see how we go. And as it happened, I think I got to the last 16 of the first comp that year. Was in Wuxi, which was about $12,500 or something, so it was a hell of a lot of money at the time. Well, it still is. And that kind of funded the rest of the year, but it was a good decision to make because it meant that every time I played it was all on me. I was funding myself, so I took a bit more responsibility rather than just not trying. I won't say not trying, I always tried, but just took it more serious. You know, I dedicated myself from that moment.
And it's not just Abby and her family. We hear a little bit about the Tamworth Massive. You've always got great support. At the moment they're watching on TV as opposed to being in the arena. And I get the impression you're quite a sort of simple fella. You don't need anything too fancy. You've got your wife, you've got your daughter Taylor, a couple of quid in the bank, a couple of nights down the pub, and that's you happy.
Yeah, exactly that. Very, very simple, straightforward. I just like a good time like everybody does. I've hated this COVID thing. I miss the going out. That's how I like to de-stress, you know, even if I had a good day, a bad day, just go and have a chuckle with the lads or out with the missus somewhere, have a crack, have a bit of a boogie. I've really missed all that.
And I like the fact as well that you're quite old school, because I know one of the journos in the press room said, well, have you got into Zoom pub quizzes? And you just put that flat on the floor. You just said, look, I need to be holding a pint and I need to be laughing with my mate face to face. It's not quite the same online, is it?
Them Zoom calls were all right for about the first 3 weeks of lockdown, and then they become a bit tedious. My missus and her sister, because we had the twin living with us at the same time, I was murder with it, mate. Every night it was. No more Zoom quizzes for me.
focusing on the snooker, you're now into your third Triple Crown semi-final. Both the previous ones have been pretty memorable. I get the feeling you're one of these players, you love the big occasion. You're not frightened of an opponent. You're not frightened of being on TV. If you're in the groove and you're in the balls, you're up for it and you believe you can win.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think I've spent that many years wanting to be in these situations. You know, there's no point being scared of it and shirking from it. You got to try and go out there and enjoy it. Obviously, of course, I've had times where you don't want to be out there at all. You know, you're a bit low on confidence or something, or having a stinker. But I'm trying to get past all that and just enjoy it. You know, you worked hard to get to this position. You try and make the most of it.
And I've got to ask you about one match in particular. To my dying day, I will never forget how much emotion there was around the Crucible when you played that incredible decider against John Higgins in the semis. It's been incredible, really. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have believed this was possible, this run to the semis.
It's been brilliant, mate. As soon as we get home, we're still going to have a party like we won it anyway, so sod it, yeah.
I was crying in the interview. You were crying in the interview. Even Ivan Hershevitz, the chief press officer, had tears in his eyes. Then they cut back to John Higgins, and he was crying with Hazel. It was unbelievable.
Well. Yeah, it was mental, weren't it? Like you say, I just come out on the wrong side of it, but I still have great thoughts about that. It was a brilliant experience. Obviously, I think about that frame all the time and that match. It was such a good time for us all at the club and everything. We waited so long to have something to cheer about. I'd love to have played that final there.
But I hope you realise that people outside snooker who perhaps didn't know of you before then, they really got on board with what you're like, because I think everybody has got a mate like you, and there is this, I just get the feeling that amongst the public, especially when they come to tournaments, they genuinely want you to do well because they can see something of themselves in you.
Right, yeah, well, it's always nice to think people are cheering you on. I'm an up and down geezer, you know. I say what I feel at the time. Sometimes it could be good, sometimes it could be bad, you know. I'm not always spot on. I just say what I feel, and I can't help what comes out.
Mate, I speak for so many people. I really hope you land one of these big ones sometime soon. You really deserve to. Very best of luck for the rest of this season.
Cheers, thanks, Rob.